So I'm on the hold right now with Tax Rise, and I have literally had it. I placed a call with them because I started thinking about what they did and what they were doing. They did an installment agreement for me, which I could do, but what I was paying them for was helping me with an offer of compromise, and then they offered to do my taxes for free. That would be 2021, and they absolutely messed up everything. And I'll go into it, but it is so frustrating as I'm sitting here on hold, waiting to talk to a manager about how they just took all my money for absolutely nothing. And I'm sitting here with no job, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, this being drug out well over now a year. I can't pay, obviously, the installment agreement. And I owe twice as much now than I owed prior.
Okay, we give you a call back as soon as possible.
It's one of those cases where, you know, you're frustrated, but you do find kind people that actually want to do their job. And then you've got these big companies that just lose sight of actual, real, true customer service. Or what's a flying monkey? You know, what's going on here? But the bottom line is that I'm being taken advantage of as a consumer in this situation, and I'm done. Like, I am so done. As an American citizen, I am so done. I am so done being the doormat of these giant companies that are offering something. They clearly see right off the bat that you're not eligible for the thing that they're offering, but they're happy to take your money, right? And just keep taking your money and dragging out the process. And then at the end of the day, they just give you something that you're completely capable of doing on your own. And I'm not a lazy person. Like, I am capable of installment agreement with the IRS. I've done it before. Not a problem. The problem is that I wasn't able to pay my tax bill. And the other problem is that they offered to do my taxes, and they made it worse because of their inability to know actual tax knowledge. So I'm not a tax consultant, but all I had to do was be curious and ask other people that were in the tax business after I received an $8,000 tax bill. And I had one big write-off, but I just needed to know how to write it off. So we'll get more into that in a minute. So I contacted this company, Tax Rise, because I had what I felt like was an enormous tax bill, more than I could pay. We had been paying on it for a long period of time, and I was very frustrated because my husband, while I was during COVID and I was working a job and a half, my husband paid up until he was clear of any of his back taxes, and then he just stopped paying, right? He just stopped paying on it. And when I asked for him to set up another installment agreement while we were together, he said that he wasn't able to get through to the IRS. Well, when I tried and I was on a medical leave of absence from work, I didn't even wait 45 minutes. I just went right through and got the tax person. No problem. No problem at all. So I was speaking to them, and they talked to me about an offer and compromise. And then what happened? Oh, something happened where all of a sudden I heard about this company, Tax Rise, and they started contacting me about wanting to set up this whole program where they would negotiate on your behalf and for all this past tax debt. So I thought, wow, what a great I don't know how to do that. That seems very time consuming. And for the amount of money, I want to say it was like $800. They would, if I remember right, do all the paperwork for you, and then they would, and you could, prorate that amount, right, over a period of time. They would set up the whole offer and compromise with the IRS because it's quite supposedly supposed to be this like detailed paperwork. And when I actually called the lady at the IRS and spoke to her on my behalf, because I was wanting to know what the status was, they had said to me that, how to obtain the form and to look it over. And I did. And it is quite complicated, right? So and then they offered, oh, we'll just do your taxes for free for 2021. So in 2020, now I'm going to try to keep this, because this seems kind of like confusing, like I'm jumping all over the place, and I'm not trying to do that. So I want to keep it very clear. In 2021, I'm just going to rewind. And he's bugging me about getting the divorce documents done. Like, I'm like, well, like, you couldn't log on and like do them too? Like, you couldn't work on them yourself? Like, why do I have to do everything? But whatever. So I'm sitting here trying to scramble to get the taxes done. And the reason why I had to get the taxes done was because I needed those totals in order to complete the divorce documents. So the fact that he was rushing me in order to complete the divorce documents was like the second part. Like, I couldn't finish one without doing the other. And so I was super frustrated. Like, I was super frustrated because here he's yelling at me to do something, but then wasn't wanting to offer any kind of solution or any help. He just wanted to just bark orders at me or demand or act frustrated. And at the same time, he was barely doing anything as far as work. I think he was making the minimum amount that you can make when you're on Social Security wages, right? On the side, and then had all this extra additional free time. So to make my life a living hell. And that's the thing. That's the thing that is the most frightening about it. And this video is obviously going to have to be segmented up into multiple episodes. But my point of delivering this is, like, I don't know if this company's involved, like, with him, like, as a flying monkey. Like, I have no idea. I don't know if it's a random event, but it definitely is in connection with my attachment to this individual and me needing to get myself free from being attached to him. And, when you hold on to something so tightly and you're afraid to let it go, the person feels so stifled and they feel so restrained, and they want nothing more than to run away. And the fact that all I ever wanted was somebody to want to work with me. I didn't want to do all the work on my own. I just wanted somebody that wanted to be a teammate. But there's no I in team. It doesn't mean like I'm supposed to be, obviously. I mean, that's like such a funny thing that we all say as like kids. But like, I wasn't going to do everything myself, and I was tired of doing everything myself. I wanted somebody to show up for me just as much as I showed up for them. And it was getting to the point where I was killing myself just trying to prove that I was enough to show up for. And I don't need to prove that to anybody anymore. So I turned all that energy back onto myself, and I started to show up for myself. You'll see how hard I had to fight, or how hard I am fighting to remove myself from these negative people in my life, these negative entities. And you can make your own judgment if it's a flying monkey or if it's a person or company that has really bad customer service. But I'm done. I'm done as a consumer in the American public being walked all over and having to deal with long phone waiting times and people just kind of doing that who loves you kind of BS, about we'll have somebody call you back, or we'll get around to you, or when you do this, I'm done with that. I'm done with that because I deserve to be treated better than that. We all deserve to be treated better than that. I show up every I show up every single day as a citizen, a proud citizen to be part of this country, and I trying to pay my taxes, I'm trying to pay my bills, I'm trying to do the right thing, I'm trying to go back to work. And and no one's sitting here trying to protect me from people hurting me, from people taking advantage, from people victimizing me. And I'm not saying that these cops or the FBI aren't doing their part. I think that they're overworked. And if we continue as a country to continue to save everybody else and stop taking care of our own and stop addressing the problems that are at home, then you know what? I mean, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. And what the consequences are is you have a country that feels neglected. You have a country that feels alone. They feel abandoned. They're frustrated. They're depressed. They're dealing with all the situations that I have. And that's the elephant in the room. And I think that's the problem, is that, people are searching everywhere for the next fix that's going to make them feel better about themselves, or the next love, or the next cool pair of sneakers, or if I could just pay off this bill, or if I could just be debt free, or have this beautiful home, or have this beautiful bag, and live this kind of lifestyle that I see all over social media. But the problem is that once you have those things, then you want something else. And then you're never satisfied. And you're always living in this place of wanting something more that you can't obtain. Desiring something that like my cat wanting to desire some more food right now. Desiring something more that you don't have. Another person, another thing. And not just being happy where you are. And time is just fleeting, We only have so much time. And I don't want to spend it worrying about owing money to these people. I don't want to spend my life concerned about how am I going to manage all these things that I own. Who wants to live like that? I have enough. I've had enough problems worrying about so many things in my life. I don't want to add that on. There's more to this segment, but the one thing I am going to do is I'm ridding myself for all these burdens that I felt the need to take on that weren't my responsibility. Because they aren't. They aren't my responsibility. They're somebody else's problem. Or if they were my responsibility, like this tax debt, I didn't deserve to not have them do their job. And that's a burden that they are responsible for, is doing their job properly. And if they're not capable of doing their job, then they can return the money to me. So I can use that to get an actual real tax professional that knows what they're doing to do the job right.
To get somebody on the phone for you right now, is it okay if we give you a call back as soon as possible?
Yeah, when would that be?